Thanks for coming back to this third presentation of the Declaration of Independence. We have together talked about the three sections of the Declaration of Independence. We spent some time talking about natural law and the foundation of good government. Then we talked last time about the long train of abuses, and we're going to just read how he builds those abuses, and he has some good rhetoric in which he talks about and he saves the best for last, and then he nails that and moves to what we're talking about in this video, the Declaration proper, the Declaration of our Independence. So here's how he writes. He is the King of England. This is how it reads toward the end. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas and ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. So he has argued that the king is unfit. His next paragraph will talk about the deafness of the British people, but he concludes, we must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold the British people as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war and in peace friends. And then we therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states. All right, so there's the declaration. The United Colonies are now free and independent states. We are absolved of allegiance to the crown, and all political connection between us and them is dissolved. Each of the colonies will now have the rights to wage war, conclude peace, contract alliances, and establish commerce. So, in the declaration, he is breaking the contracts with Great Britain, and he is saying that the states now have this kind of right. He says, in the midst of this, we have a firm reliance on divine protection. What else do you have when you're going against a world power in order to redress the grievances that you have with them? You are either going to be permanently subordinated, permanently suppressed, or you are going to be delivered by a power greater than yourself. So he says the states now have independent rights, and we're going to trust God for his protection. Well, let me just read that. These united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. They are absolved from all allegiance to the British crown. All political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. We are free and independent states. They have the power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all the things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Which means these men together had counted the cost. They had, before this was not a fly by night. This was not somebody with an emotional appeal that caused us to just suddenly go for independence. This was a measured decision by good men who knew the consequences and were pledging themselves together to meet those consequences with their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. I invite you to look on YouTube for a presentation by Paul Harvey, an old recording of what is called Our Lives, Our Fortunes, and Our Sacred Honor. It tells the background of what those signers lost as a result of signing this document. So I invite you to look that up. For our purposes, you'll notice that we have people from all 13 colonies who are signing this declaration. And so 56 signatures of people who are pledging their lives, their fortunes, and sacred honor, who are going to trust God in the midst of the conflict to redress the grievances they have with Great Britain and to throw off the tyrannical government and to find one that would better secure their human rights for them. So we looked at those three pieces together. We looked at the foundation of government in natural law and the natural rights that are given to us by God and not given to us by the state, not coming to us conditionally, but they are ours innately, whether or not we trust or whether or not we believe in them, whether or not governments give them to us or not. It's a government's responsibility to secure those rights for us. And then when we look at things like what we have in that long train of abuses, we see the argument for tyranny, we see the argument for independence, and then we see the commitment of the men who would sign their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to see that those rights for the colonies survive. Thanks for hanging out.